Hello, my Grots and Gits. Welcome back to another episode of Happy Crump and Wargaming. So we're super excited to have you guys here. Today we are going to be running down the top 5 characters in Warhammer 40,000. This was an awesome video to do, and it was actually a super challenging video to make because the options were immense. So we have a few rules before we really dive right into it. Here we go. We are including the unit in our calculations for these characters because the leader keyword is such a critical part of most characters' abilities now. So we're going to be including the unit that they can actually lead to talk about how powerful they actually are, if they're a leader. Some of these are just loan-outs. Then we're going to be considering the value, because points cost is exceptionally important. If you have an amazing model, but it costs 700 points, you're never going to be able to take it, right? So we are considering the points value. Then lastly, there are going to be no epic characters in this video because that's going to be a separate video that we're going to talk about them. Okay, so let's hop right on into it. So the number 1 honorable mention picks. This is honorable mentions. We've got just a few of them because we have to talk about them before we get into the actual list here. So the number 1 honorable mention is going to be the Chaos Lord. Oh no. We have the Chaos Lord. This guy is 75 points, and he's going to open up that sweet Profane Zeal double tap, okay? So if you guys don't know what he does, he runs in and he lets you use a battle tactic once per battle round. Well, Chaos Space Marines have one called Profane Zeal, which is probably the second best stratagem in the game, right behind Phantasm. What this allows you to do is reroll all hits and wound rolls for the entire unit for 1 CP. So for 1 CP, one of these guys, leading a unit of Chosen most likely, will get to reroll all hits and wound rolls. And remember, you're going to be doing a Dark Pact, so these guys are going to be getting sustained hits on 6s as well. And then the other unit gets to do it for free. It's so powerful when you can have 2 little MSU units that can go and kill absolutely anything. They hit like an absolute freight train. The Chaos Lord himself also has an ability that once per game allows him to add 1 to his damage, 1 to his AP, and 1 to his attacks. So he's going to have a crazy amount of attacks, and it's all going to be dev wounds. So he'll be hitting you with rerollable flat 3 damage dev wounds. The dude is a complete monster and a powerhouse. Not to mention, you always attach him to Chosen because Chosen get the access to the Advance in Charge. So this guy's freaking awesome. For 75 points. You could not ask for a better character. So he is an honorable mention. Let's talk about honorable mention number 2. This is the Hive Tyrant, the humble Hive Tyrant. This guy is freaking amazing. He's a total powerhouse. He opens up a free strat per turn, not battle round like most of the other characters. So that's per turn, and that's a really freaking big deal. And then, not to mention, he gets to add a 6-inch aura of Assault. So what you can do is now suddenly your X-Crins get to advance and shoot if they have to get super angles, or your Maleceptors can do that, or anything in the army. The Zone Throats, which are notoriously slow, can now advance and shoot. And it's really easy to just have a tiny little sliver within that 6-inch aura. So it gives the Tyranids a bunch of flexibility in their list building and what they can actually do. So he is freaking awesome. Not to mention, he still slaps in melee. I know people say, oh, he's disappointing, but he has a 4-up invuln, he's got a 2-up armor save, and he absolutely has some reasonably solid melee, and he does have that sweet heavy venom cannon, which can also do a little bit of damage as well. Oh, and he can take some cool enhancements. I personally really love the 5-up Feel No Pain, and once he takes a point of damage, he gets a 4-up Feel No Pain for the rest of the game. This makes him very hard to shift. And put that boy in cover, he's almost as tough as Mazrog to kill. So he is a jerk to have to deal with. Now, we are done with the honorable mentions, but there's one other thing I have to talk about before we hop into the actual list. That is going to be the biggest nerd of all time, the one, the only, the guy who has to get wrecked, the Transcendent C'tan. Ladies and gentlemen, Grots and Gits, this guy is gone. That doesn't mean you'll never see him again, but he no longer can take the 4-up Feel No Pain enhancement from the Necrons. This is amazing. I hated this guy so much, I could never deal with him. At 300 points, he's honestly still probably a reasonable choice, but he's no longer going to be the just most broken or really powerful character in the entire game. So what does he do now? He still gets to teleport every single turn because all he has to do is advance. He still hits like a freight train in melee. He still shoots extremely well. He's still going to be scoring 20 points of secondaries if you can't target him, and he still heals every single round. What does he not do? He no longer has a 4-up invuln and a half damage and a 4-up Feel No Pain. Now, he's a simple 4-up invuln with halving damage, so he can actually be killed. He's still tough. He's still really good. but he can actually be killed. Whereas previously, I never would even bother targeting him. I would just accept that when I'm playing Necrons, he will score the Necron player 30 points, 30 victory points. So now there's actually counterplay into him, and he can get wrecked. I hate this guy. I'm super excited to see him not be as broken as he was, and he can get wrecked and nerd. All right, so let's get into the actual list. Number 5, we have the Ironstorm Tech Marine. This dude opens up some terrifying builds, and he's got a couple of different versions of him that, honestly, a lot of times you'll see all 3. Sometimes you'll see 2, but you're always going to see at least the 1. So he's 55 points on his own. If you want to give him the enhancement for the lethal hits aura to vehicles, it's 40 points. So suddenly you have a 95-point unit model. But what does he do? Well, first off, he gets blown up when he's within 3 inches of the vehicles, so he can't be targeted. Then because he's always going to be within 3 inches of the vehicles, then he's going to be standing in a circle of your freaking 3 whirlwinds, all getting lethal hits. And whirlwinds with lethal hits gets very, very scary. And then you have the Ironstorm strats that let you get the critical hits on 5s, etc. It gets disgusting when you pair that with Oath of the Moment. He is very, very powerful. And not to mention, he's also going to be adding 1 to hit to one of the vehicles, canceling out their -1 to hit for using the indirect. And he also heals vehicles. So he just has so much going for him. He's an amazing value, and he by himself opens up that entire army's build. There's another version that lets you flip a damage to 0 per turn. And honestly, a lot of times you'll see the same Tech Marine in the same list, because he's going to be adding +1 to hit and healing another vehicle, while he's also going to be flipping one of the damage rolls to 0 once per battle round. So if you have that Repulsor Executioner that's sitting there, and he's just blasting away, well, suddenly your enemy, or you're playing Sisters, and they get a Melta through, and it deals 8 damage, your Tech Marine goes, oh no, no, oh no, no, and just flips that to 0. So it's really, really important. Then the last version of this Tech Marine is you have the Assault and Fall Back and Shoot aura. Now this one I don't think you're going to see quite as much, but he also opens up some really interesting builds for Ironstorm as well. He's going to get your Repulsor Executioners when they get tagged in melee. They get to fall back and still shoot. It gets very strong. So the Ironstorm Tech Marine, awesome piece, and he absolutely makes it into the top 5. He is the number 5 pick. Let's go to the number 4 pick, which you all know and hate, the Autarch Wayleaper, right? So this guy is a little pricier than that Tech Marine, because he comes in at a sweet 115 points. But what do we get for 115 points? Well, we get a model that is Lone Op. Check. That's a really important keyword, especially on these slightly more expensive characters. And then we get a character who moves base 14. Not bad. Then we have a character who gives you a free CP every single turn. And what this does is it opens up Eldar to whole different types of builds. It allows Eldar to just go fixed and never worry about CP, because they're always going to have a huge amount of CP generation, because every single turn they're guaranteed to get another one anyway. So they can always just do those super easy fixed secondaries, which is very, very powerful. He also will equip himself with the Phoenix Gem. It's a 25-point upgrade, and it's absolutely worth it, because that's going to bring this guy's point cost to 140 points. But what happens is when he dies, he's just going to stand up on a 2-up, and then he's going to be alive, still doing all the same nonsense. And then he's going to be equipped with a Howling Banshee whatever, which is going to be giving him fights first, which means that you can't send MSU units after him, because he'll kill him, because he'll fight first. He also has a Melta 3 gun, which is really dang strong, and it's Assault, which means that he can always be advancing, doing whatever actions you want, and if you ever are going to get close to him to shoot him or whatever, he will just use Phantasm to be out of your threat range. So he's going to jump in, he's going to do teleport, deploy teleport homers, you move close, he's going to Phantasm away, and they'll always have CP for it because of what he does. This guy is freaking amazing, and he is easily the number 4 character in the game right now. We're moving on to number 3. I am super happy to present to you the Grey Knights Librarian. Now, poor Grey Knights, they haven't been doing too hot, but if you guys hold on, I think this Sunday I'm going to be doing an interview with Mr. Victor, who is the only person in all of 10th edition in the entire world to win a GT with the Grey Knights. He won it at a GT that I participated in the other week where I got second. He took first. He did an absolutely amazing job. I'm actually sorry I didn't get to face him in that GT, because that would have been a lot of fun. But he's awesome, and we'll be talking about these guys really in depth there. But for right now, the Grey Knights Librarian, for 100 points, you get a character that can be very reasonably run as a leader or solo. As a leader, he's going to be leading either Paladins or the Terminators, which you're going to be taking those as Grey Knights anyway. Maybe you don't want to run them as a leader sometimes, maybe you want them solo. And one of the reasons why we love running them solo is this. The Grey Knights get to deep strike every single turn because they always get to, for free, go back into re-reserves. So it's very, very challenging to screen a single model. So these dudes are very, very hard to screen, and honestly, most of the time you just don't even bother. They have a sweet, sweet psychic attack, which is going to cause d6 damage, or d6 plus 3 if you roll a 6, or they can deal damage to themselves if they roll a 1, but it's still fairly reliable, and it's all just pure mortal wounds, which is so darn good, especially in the Grey Knight's army, where they really have no access to anti-tank. So these boys are just blowing up everything. And it's got an 18-inch range, which is super, super good. Not to mention, it's not a shooting attack. So this psychic ability, which just blasts you with mortal wounds, is not a shooting attack. So what does that mean? That means our Librarian can come on down, he can deploy teleport homers, he can do investigate signals, he can do whatever action he wants and still blow you up. And then at the end of your turn, he'll pick them back up. So dang good. And then you can pair him with like the Grey Knight stratagems, which allow, if you move within 9 inches of him, he can pick himself back up. If you give him the upgrade, the Sigil of Exigence, that means if you try to shoot him, he can get picked back up into reserves. He is just a freaking amazing unit who's going to score tons of points, and he's going to cause mayhem to your opponent. Moving on down, we have the number 2 pick for best character in the game, the Biologus Putrifier. Some people might think, when they look at this guy. Listen, let me explain what you get for 50 points. 50 points is nothing, meaning every single Death Guard list I would build is going to start with 3 of these guys. All right. He gives you critical hits on 5s. Critical hits on 5s, people. All right. In Death Guard, everyone has lethal hits. So suddenly the entire Plague Marine squad, and it can be, I don't know, a shooty outfitted or a melee outfitted squad, it doesn't really matter. They're getting lethals on 5s. Pair that with the Death Guard stratagem that gives you sustained hits 1 or sustained hits 2 if you're on the objective or your opponent's on the objective, I forget which. Holy crap, suddenly you're getting both lethal and sustained on 5s. This causes the Death Guard to be putting out like double, triple the amount of damage that you're expecting from them. It is unbelievably efficient for 50 points. It is stupid cheap. This guy is value town. Not to mention, he has a once per game ability to allow him to use grenades for free, even if it's already been used. So if you have 3 of these guys, you can have a single turn where you do the grenade strat 4 times. It's amazing. It's so strong. 50 points. I cannot say how amazing this Biologus Putrifier is. So congratulations, Death Guard. You did take the number 4 slot. Lastly, or the number 2 slot, sorry, not the number 4. Lastly, everybody, we're about to go on into number 1. But before we get there, if you like this content, please hit the like and subscribe button. Leave comments down below if you disagree. If you do agree with me, if you think I'm stupid for whatever reason, write it down because I love talking to you guys in the comments. As you know, I basically always respond to all comments. Now, it's time for the reveal. Time for the reveal. Who is the number 1? The number 1 is the World Eater's Master of Executions. This is the best character in the game for the points value. He is absolutely overtuned when you pair him with the Berserker Glaive. And let's be clear, this is the World Eaters of Master Executions with the Berserker Glaive. So he's 80 points base, and then you add on the Berserker Glaive upgrade for 25 points. So he goes to 105 points. Let's think about what do we get with the World Eater Master of Executions. He's always going to be leading your Khorne Berserkers. So that's going to give the entire unit fight first, which makes them very hard to deal with if you're a melee army, because anytime you charge them, they're just going to slaughter you first. It's a big deal. Then they're always going to be taken in a Rhino, most likely, which means that they're going to have a good 8-inch disembark. Or if you're playing for real speed, World Eaters can get them a plus 2 inches to move, so you can get a 8 plus 3, so you can get them an 11-inch disembark. And then what they can do is still advance and charge, since World Eaters can really, really play for speed. So they can be exceptionally fast as well. Not to mention, since he's leading Khorne Berserkers, you never want to shoot his unit. Because if you shoot his unit, they get to move d6 inches towards the closest enemy unit, which that can end in an engagement range, which means that this unit will count as charging you. It is so brutal. Lastly, let's talk about this freaking this Berserker Glaive upgrade. All right. What this thing does is at all times, he's always going to be +1 attack and +1 damage. Pretty dang good. We do like that. However, when he charges, and this is any charge, so this is if he uses the Hero Intervention strategy, this is any type of charging, he gets to add +D3. So this opens him up for the potential of getting 5 damage attacks. Damage 5 attacks. So he always will be rerolling all hit rolls and wound rolls against character units. He can easily get the precision upgrade, or actually he might even have precision. I don't remember that one. But so suddenly this guy gets to fish for 5 damage dev wounds. A 5 damage dev wound against any character model in the game, or against anything because it's dev wounds, but against characters, units in particular, he gets to reroll hit and wound rolls. This makes him trade up so much. This guy kills Mazrak. This guy kills Death Guard Terminators. Or not Death Guard. Well, everyone kills Death Guard. Sorry. This guy will kill Death Watch or Dark Angel Knight Terminators. Dark Angel Knights. He will kill them. They will die to him because they're flat damage 4 and they're -1 damage. But he'll go up to damage 5 with dev wounds. He'll run through even them. I think, as far as I know, he's the only thing in the game that can run through Deathwing Knights. It's just absolutely ludicrous how powerful and valuable this guy is for only 105 points. He is insane overtuned. And he is the #1 best character in the game right now. Grats and Gits, if you enjoyed this, make sure to leave me a comment down below because it really does help the algorithm for people to find me better. We will be following up with the top 5 of our epic characters, which will be a fun list as well. So if you enjoyed this, let me know, and I will see you into the next video. Thanks so much for watching. Happy crumping, everybody.